Hello, you guys.
Hello there.
Welcome back
to our channel. I don't know where my other one is. Welcome back to our channel. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see you. The Bucks won. They won the Super Bowl. It's a big year for Tampa sports.
Tampa Bay, all the way.
Tampa Bay Bucks won the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Rays made it to the World Series. They didn't win, unfortunately. But
please don't dislike this video if you're not a Tampa Bay fan.
Well, now you just gave them fodder to do it.
That's true.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, today we are talking about jealousy. And just so you kind of have like a sneak peek into Chad and I's rhythm and groove when it comes to videos, sometimes we have full series prepared out and lined up in advance. And sometimes day of, we're like, Lord, what do you want us to talk about? And today was one of those days where we were talking about what we want to talk about. And Chad was like, I feel like we should talk about jealousy. You want to tell him why?
Yeah, well, it's a really short story. Basically, a few months ago, I posted an Instagram story. Sometimes I post encouraging things on there. And I remember the response I got from it. It was about jealousy. And I had this quote that I picked up from someone else. And the quote was basically, the only reason you should ever look into someone else's cup is to make sure that they have enough. And just so many people resonated with that. And then it kind of opened up a bigger, I guess, thought in my heart, which is like, wow, like, a lot of people can struggle with jealousy. Actually, we all can struggle with jealousy.
Yeah.
And I want to normalize it. I don't want to normalize jealousy. I want to normalize talking about it because I feel like it's something that we keep private. Almost like when Tori and I did the talks on pornography or the talks on shame and stuff. And there's a lot of things that people just don't want to talk about, and I don't blame them. I would never want to admit to someone like, I'm jealous of you. Mm-hmm. I'm envious of your life. I would never... I would never want to admit that. And so I just think it's cool if we open up a conversation about it to say, hey, like, it's normal to struggle with this. This is not like a new thing. This has been happening since the dawn of time. Yeah. And let's talk about different ways to work on it. And so Tori posted on her Instagram to get a bunch of questions from you all. Yeah. And you didn't fail.
Y'all never fail. Y'all never fail.
These questions are hard.
They are hard. But before we get to the questions, I did just want to say a couple things because that what you just said sparked a thought in my mind where it's like there has literally been jealousy since Adam and Eve. I mean, Satan tempted Adam and Eve with being jealous of God's wisdom. You know, if you just eat that apple, then you'll be as wise as God. And so they were jealous of the wisdom of God. And it's when sin entered the world. And it's like, wow, that all stemmed from jealousy.
I mean, if you even go back to Satan's fall.
Yes.
So anyways, it's been around for a hot minute.
Wow.
And I do want to make one quick differentiation of jealousy. In the same way that there's sinful anger and righteous anger, there's also bad jealousy and godly jealousy. And I just want to keep it super simple. The way that you can know the difference between bad jealousy and godly jealousy is that bad jealousy, you are the beneficiary of the outcome. So if you look at, oh, I'm feeling this, I wish it were this way. If you're the beneficiary, then it's bad, right? Mm-hmm. But if God is the beneficiary, if you're jealous of something because you want it for God, then that's a godly jealousy.
Yeah.
But most of the questions, I mean, there's only a few that were involved, like, is jealousy a sin, right? But most of the other ones were like juicy questions.
Yeah, a lot of them are very juicy. But I do want to preface in terms of like just talking about jealousy as an open conversation. Jealousy is anything that you feel like someone else has and you want, or you feel like God owes that to you. Yeah. And it can genuinely wreak havoc on your life, on your emotional health, on your spiritual health, even being jealous of callings that God has placed on other people's lives and you wanting their calling and you not running in your own lane and the purpose God has for you. And so our goal with this video is just to encourage you when you feel that jealousy coming on, for us to give you some practical ways to pivot your thoughts, and so God can take captive those thoughts and redirect you to say, hey, no, I have you in your lane on purpose for a purpose, and I have gifted you and given you all that I have for you in this season. It's so easy to compare our beginning to someone else's middle or end. And it's just not a fair comparison, you know?
And it's so easy to experience jealousy today anyways. You can get on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, where you can go to any platform that you swipe your life through. And within 10 minutes, you can see like 100 people's highlight reels of their lives. Yeah. You'll see boats, you'll see super attractive people, you'll see money, cars, you'll see it all. And we're just surrounded by so many things that can tempt us with jealousy. And so this is something that needs to be talked about because we're so prone to it nowadays. It's not like we're living on a farm where there's no internet, where like it's just your family. Anywhere you look nowadays, TV, every single commercial can tempt you with those feelings of jealousy and envy.
Yep. And that's why you really do. I'm not sure if you've watched our boundary series or not yet, but we did a video on boundaries with social media. And we talked about how if you're getting on social media and every time you get off the platform, you're struggling with being jealous of all the people that you're following, you really need to take an inventory of who you're following and how they're making you feel, because you don't want to get on a platform that's literally going to spiral you down a deep hole of jealousy. You want to make sure that you're following people who are going to encourage you and lift you up and point you back to Jesus.
I was pointing back to Jesus.
Oh, I was like, I thought there was like a bug or something.
I'm embarrassed for myself with that joke.
I am too.
Lord.
Okay, let's get to some juicy questions. This is a good one, and I'll keep all of your names off just for privacy purposes. But this one says, how to stop being jealous if your man finds other women attractive. And I feel like this is a good one because my husband works with models. And so I feel like it was, something that I had to kind of walk through to be like, okay, Tori, you're not going to be jealous of those women that he's going to be working with. And it really came down for me to trust. Literally, we just worked a job in North Carolina. And we got there and the makeup artist had worked with Chad previously, and the first thing she said was, oh my gosh, you're Tori, you're the wife that Chad talked about. And it just made me feel really good because I was with someone who I knew there would be no room for any like gray weirdness area. Like any time that Chad would work with a female model, I would pretty much get a message from that model saying, oh my gosh, Chad talks so highly of you. I'd love to get coffee with you. I'm saying all that as a testament to who Chad is. But if you are a girl and you're struggling with that, I would encourage you to have open conversation with your significant other. It's like that weird thing of like, I don't expect Chad to not think girls are pretty either. Because like, I think girls are pretty.
Yeah, but I think there's a big difference between that. If I find someone, am I actually attracted to that person, or are they just, oh, that's a pretty person?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think there's a line there, right? Where like, I think my mom's beautiful, and of course, like, yes, Chad, it's your mom. But no, it's like there's no attraction there. Then there's a difference between just acknowledging a beauty versus like, oh, I'm attracted. Because let's look up the definition of attraction. Okay, attraction. The action or power of evoking interest in something or someone. And so I just want to be clear that like if your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever this is, if they're attracted to somebody, that can then be provoking interest in somebody. And that's a big difference that Tori was just making with me, is that I immediately block any potentials of any action that would happen. I don't want that at all. But yeah, I can say, oh yeah, that person's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm not attracted to them. You can call out a beauty trait. Is that what it's called? A beauty trait?
Yeah. If Chad were like, oh yeah, she's not pretty, I'd be like, you're lying because I think she's pretty.
Yeah. And so, but if your person is attracted where they almost want to evoke that interest and pursue that interest, then that's not good.
Yeah. And the Bible also calls us to live above reproach. And so you want to make sure that you and your significant other are never in situations that can even be tempting, right? Like that's why boundaries are important. It's just a safeguard around your relationship. And so the better your boundaries are communicated, the more trust you're going to feel, and the less you're going to feel that jealousy, because it's just not going to be an issue. Next one is being jealous of another believer's spiritual growth or how they're being used by God, which is very similar to what we were talking about just a second ago. But I feel like it's really easy for Christian women to fall into this trap. I mean, I definitely had a season like that as well, where I'm like, I feel like I could be doing that, and God's like, no. First off, you ain't ready. I have to do some work in you before I can do some work through you. And so making sure that you're not comparing where you're at with someone else, because you could be at the beginning of your race and someone else is nearing the finish line. And so just making sure that you're bringing these things to God and having like open dialogue with God, because he can handle it. You can go to God and be like, God, I am struggling with being jealous or envious or desire for what they have. I'm struggling with this. Help me. That's what God's here to do. He's there to help you and lift that from you and remind you of what he has for you. And so don't be scared to go to God about this stuff. He wants to hear from you and he wants to help you.
If you were to follow the life of Paul whenever he was alive, right? He was shipwrecked. He was like bitten by snakes. He was jailed. He was beaten. He was flogged. He was estranged. He was all these things. You would have looked at him and be like, I don't want his life. I don't want his spiritual growth. I don't want that stuff. But he wrote, 2/3 of the New Testament, And so I just want to encourage you that whatever you may be going through or whatever you may be experiencing or where you are, we would have not looked at Paul and think, oh, wow, I envy his spiritual walk. Unless you envy being tortured and being hated and being jailed and those things. And so, but God used him in miraculous ways. And so there could be things that God is doing inside of your life that you just don't know that are being done yet.
Mm-hmm. Next question. What do you do if you sense that someone is jealous of you?
I don't want to talk too long about this one because I think it's kind of unique to every situation. But I think number one is I wouldn't assume that they are, because so maybe they could just be down in their times and maybe they see someone who things are a little bit easier. And I think that that's kind of a normal reaction. But I think just healthy communication with somebody. But don't ever imply that hey, I know. You know what I mean? You never want to do that, but you can maybe ask them things about their life and inquire to them, say, hey, are there things in your life you wish were going differently? Mm-hmm. Is there something that you're praying for that you wish God would answer? Is there a way I can be a better part in your life to encourage you and lift you up and support you? Yeah. Those are great ways to support someone who you think may be envious or jealous of your life in a way that's edifying to them, because you never want to make them feel bad about a place they're in.
Yeah. Next question is how to not be jealous of those who show everything off. LOL.
We all know someone. No, I'm kidding. I'm not hating on people. I think a quick answer is, because this is a deep question, but I feel like if someone has the need to show everything off, it shows a lack of internal contentment. And so they're acting from a place of lack. And even though it looks like they don't lack anything, they're actually operating from a place where they're lacking everything, because they have everything and yet it means nothing, right?
They need the affirmation.
Yeah, they need the affirmation, the acknowledgement, or they need the jealousy or envy in their life to complete that little check mark that they think they need in their life. And so I'm not saying just assume that everyone's in a bad place and everyone is just begging for attention because they're empty on the inside. What I'm saying is things are not always as they appear. I think one of my favorite quotes is from one of my favorite movies, is from The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Beautiful things don't ask for attention. And so I think if something is begging for attention, then it may not be what you think it is.
The next question is, how do you enjoy the waiting season without being jealous of others' relationships? And I feel like this kind of goes for when you're single, you're jealous of the people who are dating. And when you're dating, you're jealous of the people who are engaged. And then you're engaged and you're jealous of the ones who are married. And then you're married and you want to have a baby and you're jealous of those who have a baby. Like there's always something, right? And so how do we not struggle with jealousy? I really genuinely feel like it's only God and being truly content in the season God has for you right now and looking for like, hey God, what are you trying to do in me right now? And what can you do through me with what you're teaching me right now? And when you're others focused, I feel like it's a lot easier to get out of your own world because it's not about you. It's about what God can do through you in this particular season. I mean, I have a friend who is single and God is using her to speak truth into other women who are single, and she has a greater empathy because she's in that season. I mean, we can talk about singleness all day long, but we're married. And so we can talk from experience, but she's in it. Like, she's in it with you. And I think it's really important to have people that you're walking beside and in the same season that you're in. And so looking for people in the same season as you and ahead of you to pour into you, but also just remembering that God has you exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And if you are in that season that you're jealous of, maybe you're not ready for that season yet. And that's okay. And it's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I just want to give you a quick little piece of encouragement that more often than not, the answer to your prayer is not what you need. Okay. And I'm gonna explain further. Basically, whenever Jesus was led into the desert to be tempted by Satan, he had just fasted for 40 days, right? So what is the first thing that Satan tempted him with? Food. Okay. Food is not bad. Relationships are not bad. But the way that Jesus would have gone about getting that food would have been bad. And so what I'm saying is Jesus replied and said, man is not fed on bread alone, but every word out of God's mouth. And so I think we just have to remember, are we on earth to point towards God's kingdom, or are we on earth to build our own kingdom? And so whenever we realize that we're here to reveal God's glory, the suffering that we experience or the wants that we have that aren't fulfilled, they all mean more, because what does this mean in terms of God's kingdom, not my own kingdom? Because you may feel like you're less than, but God's saying, I'm molding you to the character of Christ. I'm showing you how to be good with the little and the good with the lot. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And so what you're going through is normal, and we don't want to belittle that. But this is about being sanctified in Christ's image, about being full in Christ, not about getting your checklist to make yourself feel okay. And so if you're praying for a relationship, that's good. Pray for that. We met, if you saw our love story, this isn't about when we met, but we met up one time and we both had a book called 31 Prayers for My Future Wife or 31 Prayers for My Future Husband. And so that we actively believe in praying for that. But the treasure is being molded into Christ's image, and nothing else can replace that. No relationship, no amount of money, no accolade, no boat. Boats are cool, but they're not going to do it for you.
The wait's always worth it, y'all. God's timing is always, always worth it.
All right, so I have the phone now. I'm the captain now. We're going to do a little speed round, because you guys know, so you've seen the stuff when we scroll for 1,000 hours. There's a lot of questions, so let's just do a little speed round.
Okay.
Jealousy of knowing my ex now likes somebody else. I get that. I feel that. I've experienced that, and I don't want to belittle that feeling. But you're no longer with them, and they're no longer your responsibility. And so, because you're no longer with them, you were not a good match. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to mean that there is someone better for you out there. And so you shouldn't be jealous over what someone else is going to have that wasn't compatible with you. For example, if you go car shopping and you drive a car and you realize, oh, this is a little too tight for me, right? It is a little too tight. So then you're looking around for another car and you don't see it. Then someone else comes by and buys that car and you're like, oh, they got my car. No, you didn't like the car. It didn't work for you. So no. Get it gone. How to not be jealous and sad when you see others getting accepted by their spouse's family and you're not.
Oh, wow. That's hard.
Extremely tough one. I think the big key here is, and we don't have a lot of advice on this specific topic, but the big key here is to not receive someone's rejection as you being less than. Okay, you are not less than. If someone doesn't see the gold that you are, that's okay. They may not see it. And that's hard, especially when it's your spouse's family. But the thing is, that doesn't belittle your value. And I'll just give you a quick example as to how I know that. So you see this receipt? Money was exchanged for this, right? So imagine this is a dollar bill, right? This is $1. If I take this dollar, how much is it worth? It's worth $1. And then someone else takes it and crumbles it up because they don't value it. They don't think it's any good. Then they throw it away. How much is this piece of paper worth?
$1.
It's worth $1. Your value is not dictated by other people. Next question, babe. Get your phone. Where's it at?
You threw it.
Oh, there's more questions. God, they're popping up by the second. How to not be jealous of girls that your significant other follows that post provocative content. I think that's a really healthy conversation to have. Some people can follow other people and they're not led into temptation or not led into lust. And so that can be a difficult conversation to have with somebody. Like, hey, why are you following them? You know? But if you were to just approach them in a very humble way where you're expressing your own vulnerability, you say, hey, listen, I sometimes get insecure when I see you engage with these people that are posting things that I wouldn't post because I don't want to attract that type of attention.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you're doing something wrong, but I just want you to know that there's maybe some things that we could work on together that would make me feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that you would hear me and want to work with me on those things.
Yeah. Your significant other should want to protect your heart in every way he can. And so if that's having to unfollow accounts that post provocative stuff because it makes you uncomfortable, I would hope that his heart is like for that.
How fine is the line between being happy for what others have or wishing that you have what they have, right?
It's a very fine line.
Yeah, it's jealousy can encroach in that little 1% right there where you can be so happy. Jealousy, right?
Yeah.
That's normal and that happens. But I do think that if you are expressing jealousy in your own heart and you feel it, then what you're expressing is you're dissatisfied with what God is doing in your life. Yeah. And God may have a different plan for their life. Actually, I know he does because they're different people than you. And so life is too short to be somebody else. Focus on being yourself and focus on being where you are with God, right? Yeah. And be happy with what God is doing in your life because you're on a unique journey with him and you don't know what he's going to do. And that should be a good thing. So the last thing that we're going to talk about are some practical tips to help with jealousy.
Yeah. I feel like my first one goes back to kind of the boundaries in social media, boundaries with friends. If you feel like you following a particular person is leading you down a trap of jealousy, mute the post, mute the story. It's not a crime to do that. It's totally okay. You need protection of your own heart and your own soul. And then also just remembering to always bring it to God. As soon as you feel that tension or that pull, go straight to God.
Yeah, so with me on that same kind of level, guard your eyes and guard your mind. To feel jealousy is normal. I'm not saying that we should just be okay with it, but it's something that you're likely going to experience it. And that means that we need to incorporate normal things into our life to help us on a normal basis. So if that means what Tori just said, muting people's posts and stories or unfollowing someone, whatever boundaries you need to implement in your life. And by the way, that's a subtle plug to click on our boundary series, which is boundary, we talk about boundaries for everything, which protects you. It's just important to set those boundaries up for your life. And if you're not doing so, then you're making yourself susceptible to experiencing more jealousy because you think maybe you're strong enough to handle seeing things that maybe you're not. And that's okay to admit that. There's so many things I've had to turn my eyes away from because it just brought me to a place where I didn't want to be. So another quick tip is to not put your value in things or someone. Yeah. Okay. Your value comes from Christ and what he did for you internally in terms of your salvation to Christ. Okay. That's your value. And if you're finding your internal value through external circumstances, relationships, money, career, things, whatever it may be, that's just it's a never-ending cycle of keeping up with the Joneses where, like Tori said earlier in the video, you're always going to need something more to check that box that makes you feel okay. When in actuality, the answer's always been on the inside. Yeah. And so you can't let the good or bad opinions of you or the good or bad things around you dictate if you're feeling okay on the inside. And that goes for you that are extremely blessed. There are a lot of you that watch and you are in a healthy relationship or maybe you're not struggling financially. And if your worth is in those things, that's bad. Because if they were to ever go away, you would feel empty.
Yeah. And God would be jealous. Like if you were finding your security in any of those things, you would cause God to be jealous of those things because he wants your heart. And in the Bible, it so often refers to jealousy as a spirit of jealousy. And so y'all pray against it. In your prayer time in the morning, be like, Dear Heavenly Father, I pray against the spirit of jealousy over my life today. Like I pray for eyes that see like what you have for me. I pray for a spirit of contentment. I pray for a spirit of peace. I pray for a spirit of joy. And so that I can walk in the fruits of the spirit and not a spirit of jealousy. It's just we don't want that in our lives. And so praying actively in your war room against those things, you're gonna start seeing a difference in your life.
Yeah.
Prayer is powerful.
And I think a last little practical tip is something I said earlier in the video, that the only reason you should ever look into someone else's cup is to make sure that they have enough.
Yeah.
Okay. This life is not about what you're getting. It's not about us, right?
Yeah.
It's about what we can give. It's about our relationship to Christ and pointing to his goodness.
Yeah.
And so I encourage you to adopt a mindset of the only reason you look into someone else and see what they have is to make sure they have enough.
Yeah.
But
Others focused.
Yeah, because comparison is the thief of joy. And if we're comparing, apples to oranges, it's just not fair, because they're two different things. And your life is different from their life. And so just make sure that they have some oranges.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's good, babe.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it.
We love you guys. We hope that was encouraging. If it encouraged you, make sure to share it with someone that you love and you think it could encourage them.
Agreed.
Yeah. Love you guys.
Love you. Do 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 do. I play a little game on you. Do 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 do.